Hello everyone, I'm Monica Taylor, and welcome back to Tailor Made Cards for You. Today I'm going to be sharing a card with you that I made using two stamps from So Suzy Stamps, Swinging Fairies and Ordinary Days. One of the things that I really like about So Suzy Stamps is the different shapes of the stamps. Now there's a couple of reasons why I like this. The first reason is that you can use these stamps in a non-traditional way. The Swinging Fairy stamp could have been stamped right in the middle of my cardstock and it would have been a beautiful image. But because of how it was shaped, I was actually able to use it to frame my cardstock. Now the second reason I like these stamps are the sentiments. There are a lot of sentiments that work perfectly with the images, and not only do they work perfectly with the images, but again, because of the shapes of them, they fit in perfectly in all of the little nooks and crannies. And when I'm positioning the fairy stamp, you'll see exactly what I mean. Now the piece of paper in the middle is just a white piece of cardstock that I cut out with one of my die cuts. And I'm using my blending tool to add my distress ink. Now the color that I'm using is tumbled glass, and the color that I'm going to be using in the middle is mustard seed. Now these two colors actually work really well together, so when you're actually doing this technique, you're going to want to make sure you choose a couple of colors that will work well together, because with this technique your colors will overlap, so you want to make sure that the two colors do complement each other. Using my Misty, I stamped the sentiment Ordinary Days right in the center of my cardstock. The ink that I'm using is from Ranger, and it's jet black archival ink. I find that this ink works very well when I'm using distress inks, and it's definitely one of my go-to colors. Now you can see when I'm positioning the stamp what I meant about the sentiment and the fairy stamp working so well together. The fairy stamp can frame the birthday image, but it's more than just framing the image. It's overlapping both colors to create a very unique look. And because it's a silhouette stamp, I think the look is just even more awesome. Now I chose to frame the two corners first, and then I thought I would work in the other two corners to make sure that my fairies didn't overlap. I wanted the framing to be balanced, and that was the main reason why I started from corner to corner. And then from there I could easily transition stamping the other two opposite corners. So when I was positioning the fairy stamp, I had to be extra careful. Not only did I want to get as much of the fairies showing as possible, but I also wanted to make sure, again, that I didn't overlap the fairies, but still stamp it tight enough so that it would look like a continuous frame. So with this technique, you can see that you're just touching your rubber stamp a lot. So you may want to put on some rubber gloves when you're actually doing this type of technique, because you may get some ink on your fingers. I actually was really careful to make sure I was just grabbing the edges. But again, because you are positioning the stamp 4 times, and 3 of the times it has fresh ink on it, you may want to take care and add the rubber gloves. So once I was finished stamping, I matted the printed cardstock onto some black cardstock. I think the framing of the turquoise and the black just makes the card look so classy. And then from there, I just added it to the base of my card. Now because the theme of my card is actually fairies, I decided to add some fairy dust to the top of my card. And I did this by using Wink of Stella. I added the Wink of Stella after I had actually stamped the fairies as well as my sentiment. But if I were to do it again, I would actually add the Wink of Stella to the ink prior to stamping. And the reason for this is, even though it's not very moist, it is liquid, and a part of my card did smear just a bit. So if you do duplicate this card, you're going to want to add your Wink of Stella before you stamp the fairies and your sentiment. Now at this point you might think that we're finished, but because this card is so pretty, I thought it needed a matching envelope. The Swinging Fairy stamp works perfect on envelopes. Because of the shape, you're able to actually just stamp the left side or the right side corner, and it just is a very perfect fit. You could also do this to the inside of your card as well, again by maybe just stamping one of the corners. Because I sell my cards, I think it's important to have the inside of your card look as pretty as the outside. And this does mean adding a matching envelope as well as coordinating the inside to match your outside. So I hope that you enjoyed my video today, and that I've given you some ideas in thinking outside of the box and using some of your stamps. You don't always have to stamp right in the middle, and keep in mind you don't always have to have the whole image when you're stamping. As always, I will leave a list of the products that I used to create this card, along with the links to the stores. If you liked my video, I would appreciate a thumbs up, and feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to see your responses. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, now is a great time to do so, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks for stopping by.